Arsenal 2, Tottenham 2. Welcome back to Top of the Perch. Channel returns after a short break. It was just difficult to keep up with things. Well, in London, American sports really not followed there, and the soccer just didn't work out with the schedule. So we're back. Obviously dealing with some type of cold right now, so the voice isn't fully there. So we're going to try to keep these videos short as my voice still, returns. But we had a huge North London derby today, and I couldn't let the day go past without me recapping this. So let's just get straight into it. What a day in North London. Both teams, I think, put out decent performances. I thought Tottenham really played up to the game, and Arsenal kind of played down to it, which is why I think we ended up with a draw and not with, either team winning this game. Obviously, Arsenal was going to be the big favorite in this game, given that, they were at home. So, therefore, you would expect them to win this game. Tottenham hasn't won a game at the Emirates in the Premier League since 2010. So, the belief was that Arsenal were going to come away with the full 3 points here, but they don't. They go up early in the 26th minute. I guess that's not technically early, but they do go up first off a Christian Romero own goal. Then right before half, in the 42nd minute, Heung-min equalizes. We go into the locker room tied up at 1. A Christian Romero handball penalty in the 53rd minute sets up for Saka's 54th minute goal, which was a penalty. And that just leads directly into Son's goal in the 55th minute, which came right off the kickoff from that goal. So those were the 4 goals in this game, but I think there's a lot more in this game that needs to be talked about. Obviously, we'll get to player ratings, we'll get to the stats, but the refereeing in this game, I think on both sides, it did kind of lean more towards Arsenal getting the favorable calls, but I think both sides have reason to question some of the calls in these games. I mean, the big one for me is Nketiah coming in. I don't even know when it was, but he was coming in Vicario. Vicario already kicked the ball out, and it was like 2 seconds after that. Nketiah comes sliding in, takes him down. Obviously, Vicario goes rolling on the ground, and that's only a yellow. I mean, that's straight red. Any other situation, I feel. I don't really know why we didn't at least get a VAR check there. I mean, I would have figured that we would have got that, but we didn't. So, I was stunned by that one. I know a few people were talking about the handball that ended up with the Saka penalty. It was a handball. Yes, you can argue that what was Romero supposed to do with his hand, but I mean, it's a handball. I can't really argue that. Because he was sliding and it hit right here. I mean, yes, when you're sliding, your hand probably shouldn't be up here when you're sliding. And, if the ball hits it, it's going to be clearly a handball. But I somewhat get the argument that people are trying to make, it wasn't given in different games and all that. But, I mean, it was a penalty. If that penalty isn't given, I don't know if we score that second goal, because that second goal was very much built off of, that all that sequence right there, because you have the Saka penalty, you have Arsenal celebrating like they won the league, then you have Saka doing Madison's, dart celebration for the second time in the game, even though, the first time was an own goal, but, he still celebrated it. He does it a second time, whatever. Do whatever you want. It's annoying, but then you end up in the situation where, Tottenham are ready to get going and they're still doing their 50 different celebrations. And as soon as we actually get the ball kicked back off, it ends up with Arsenal, with Jorginho. Jorginho turns it over. It ends up with Maddison, who goes on a tear right towards net, passes it to Son right at the box, and Son puts it past Raya, and that ties the game. So let's get into the stats here. No real shocking things here. I know a lot of people were talking about, well, if Ange plays the way that Ange likes to play, Arsenal are just going to absolutely dominate Tottenham today. We dare him to do that. Well, he did. They still had the more than 50% possession. They were at 54% in this game. Both teams had 13 total shots on net, so there debunks that myth that Arsenal are going to run over Postecoglou and his system when you end up having both teams get the same amount of shots. Arsenal did have one more shot on target than Tottenham. They had 6 compared to Tottenham's 5. In the box, Tottenham had one more shot than Arsenal at 9-8. And outside the box, it was Arsenal that had one more at 5-4. Arsenal had the higher expected goals. Big factor in that was the penalty, obviously. So they were at 2.03 compared to Tottenham's 1.46. Tottenham still complete the more passes in the game compared to their opponent with 449 compared to 377. Feel like the 449 is the lowest we've seen in a game so far this season for Postecoglou's men, but that was to be expected as you're facing another high tempo type system, so I wasn't really surprised by that. Tottenham still completed the more accurate passes at 385, which was 86%, compared to Arsenal's 317, which was 84%. Tottenham with the more fouls in the game at 19 compared to Arsenal's 12, which, again, there can be an argument made there that from the refs that there should have been more fouls and there should have been less fouls on both sides. But the game's over. The refs made the decisions that they made, and there's no reason to really argue it. Arsenal's 6 yellow cards compared to Tottenham's 5, and Arsenal really dominated on the corners today. Kind of was surprised by that, as they had 11 compared to Tottenham's 4, but when you really look at it, yes, Tottenham had more of the possession, but it was more difficult for them in the first half to get into that attacking third, so I'm not really surprised by this corner number. So given that, we'll do the player ratings as we always do. Start at the top. Heung-min's Son, 2 goals on the game. He got subbed off. I believe it was the 79th minute, somewhere around there. He got subbed off with Maddison at the same time. So we'll get to that when we get to that. He earns the man of the match because, those 2 goals were absolutely crucial. Coming into this game when he says, Arsenal should be scared to face us right now, and then goes out and puts up 2 goals. That's just absolutely amazing by my captain. The 2 goals earns him the man of the match. He gets an 8.6 in this game. Brendan Johnson, he starts his first game in a Tottenham shirt. It wasn't outstanding. He earns a 6.8. He had to get subbed off because of a calf injury or leg injury, something like that. Saw his day come to an end most likely earlier than Postecoglou hoped, but hopefully the injury isn't serious. Obviously, we already lost Ivan Perisic this past week to an ACL injury, so he is most likely out the rest of the year, which really sucks for Tottenham because it seemed like he was just getting into form. James Maddison gets an 8.4. I believe that's the second highest rating for this game with those 2 assists for Son. That was just another absolutely remarkable performance. Dejan Kulusevski, obviously coming off that goal to win Tottenham the game last week, had an okay performance. Wasn't great, wasn't terrible. He earns a 7.2. The back half of the midfield of Yves Bissouma and Pop Sar. They both ended up on yellow cards in this game. Bissouma gets the higher rating. I thought he just looked better of the two out there. Sar made a few key mistakes that led to turnovers, that led to dangerous opportunities, which kind of worried me. He's just, this is only like his 6th game, I think, playing in the Premier League, the biggest league in the world. Yes, he's shown out in those first 6 games, but obviously there's still room to develop. So, sometimes you have off games, and this was just one of those. I'd say the same for Destiny Udogie. He got a yellow card too. He ends up getting the same score as Sar. The first 20 minutes did seem like it was a real struggle for him, but kind of grew into the game, started making plays that he usually would make, and, he still put on a good performance. Mickey Van de Ven. What a performance from this man today. I gave him a 7.9 just because I theoretically could have gone up to like an 8.1 or an 8.2 because he had just an absolutely outstanding performance today. The best performance I think he's had in the shirt so far. He obviously is going to outscore his center back partner, Christian Romero. We'll get to him in a second. But Mickey Van de Ven, what a performance, like I said. He's really growing into this position. Yes, would it be nice to have a little depth for him? So, if, heaven forbid, one of these two get injured, we're not bringing on like Eric Dyer or somebody like that, yes. But as of now, everybody's healthy, and we're playing these two up front, or at the back, I should say. And Mickey Van de Ven, just an absolutely outstanding performance today. He was there when he needed to be there, and just like I said, outstanding performance. Christian Romero gets a 6.5. Like I said, the first time Mickey Van de Ven outscores his center back partner, it was just not a good day for Romero. Obviously, the own goal has the handball penalty called on him that led to that Saka penalty. Gets a yellow card in the game. It just wasn't a good day for him, but he still did his job mostly. Ends up getting 6.5, which is one of the lower ones on the team, but I mean, that own goal was a killer, so kind of felt like it needed to be given there. Pedro Porro gets a 7.9 because what a performance once again. He's really grown into this inverted fullback role that I think he was originally brought in to do, and he struggled last year under Conte because Conte really doesn't use that position. He needed a right back. And Porro, while yes, he is somewhat a right back, he's more of that inverted winger right back type player. So, I mean, what a performance from him. He's really growing into this team. He's making it very difficult for Postecoglou to drop him for Emerson Royale, which I'm not surprised by. But it also goes to show Postecoglou's management has made Porro work here and made him, worth the price that Tottenham paid for him. And then Gianluigi Vicario gets an 8.1 in this game, made some absolutely outstanding saves in this game. Tried to, get some red cards pulled. But, I mean, this dude keeps showing out every game, it seems. Makes at least 2 acrobatic saves a game. Just absolutely amazing to watch. I think he's one of the most underrated signings of this window so far. He might be the best goalkeeper signing in the Premier League this window, or this summer window, I should say. Maybe. I think it's still too early to determine that, but I mean, he's up there. He's obviously better than Onana. Then we look at the substitution. Solomon was brought on for Johnson. He gets a 6.3. Really, he brought some in that last 30 that he played, but it just didn't really seem like enough. And the same kind of went for Højbjerg and Richarlison, which is why they all kind of got the same rating, just around there. Højbjerg and Richarlison were brought on for Son and Madison. They were there. They tried to make plays. They just couldn't get it done, it seemed. Now we'll get into my Postecoglou rating, which is an 8 once again. Mostly good. I still have a lot of questions. I wouldn't say a lot of questions. I have a few questions. Like, we only use 3 subs. Yes, I get that our bench depth is terrible, but, would have liked to see a few other subs. Subbing off Son and Madison, who are clearly our 2 best players. That one really doesn't make sense to me either, but it was only with 10 minutes left before stoppages, and then there was 10 minutes of stoppages. So that turns out to be 20 minutes. And the final one was just in stoppage time. It seemed like Tottenham really weren't trying to go for that. Arsenal kept attacking, trying to get that game-winning goal. It seemed like Tottenham were just playing for the draw, which I get. Getting a point out of this and accepting that, it's better than, chasing getting 3 points and then ending up conceding and then you go home with 0 points. I get that, but would have liked to see a little bit more attack than what we had in those second half stoppages, but can't really complain there. So given that was the player ratings for this match, that's going to be it for this episode of Top of the Perch. We'll be back next week. Tottenham are at home against Liverpool. It's one of their toughest tests so far, obviously, this being the other one. I'm not ranking one over the other. They're kind of at even level. Liverpool have obviously had a great start to the season. Everybody's seeming to think that they're the ones going to be competing for the title with Man City, even though Man City are going to run away with it. But they come into North London to face off against Tottenham on Saturday. Should be quite a matchup. Be interesting to see how Postecoglou system plays against Jurgen Klopp's system. I'm not a huge into predictions guy, but I'd expect a lot of goals in that game, and by a lot of goals I mean like more than 3. So what should be an exciting matchup. Can't wait to review that one. So that is going to be it for today. If you stumbled across this video, hit like, hit subscribe. Tell anybody you know about Top of the Perch. Hopefully, voice permitting, we'll be back tomorrow with Back of the Net, then Pigskin Perspectives on Tuesday, and then we just repeat the cycle all over again. So thank you so much for tuning in, and we will see you next time on Top of the Perch.